So there's a few key questions that you want to make sure that you ask your financial advisor before you retire to make sure that the plan that you have is a plan that's going to be reliable through all the years of your retirement. I would say one thing that you also want to make sure of as you get into retirement planning is to make sure that the person you're working with is more of a financial planner than they are just a financial advisor. A lot of times there's independent advisors that kind of wear a mask that they're retirement planners, but really the majority of their focus is just on investments. And I think that's important to have someone with a focus towards investments as you're moving towards retirement. Obviously, accumulating wealth is the most important piece to being able to retire. But then retirement has so many different facets and components tied into it that a traditional investment advisor really is going to provide a disservice to you during those retirement years, even if they've done a good job accumulating wealth. When it comes to distribution, you want to make sure you're dealing with a financial planner or a financial planning firm with a specialty towards retirement planning. So what are those key questions that I should be asking my retirement planner as it relates to getting ready for retirement? John, you take number one. We'll just kind of go back and forth and go through the questions today.
So here's the first one for you, Dan. This is one that is becoming more and more of an issue as people age, as we're living longer, not necessarily better. It's this whole aspect of healthcare. What do you do about healthcare? Are costs going to continue to actually increase? We think that they are. And how do you plan for that inside of a retirement budget?
Well, I think it's important to first address how old are you going to be when you retire, right? So if you're going to retire before the age of 65, there's strategies that you need to be able to really unpack and kind of discover to determine which one is the best, or are you past the age of 65? So just briefly, if you're going to retire before the age of 65, you get 18 months of COBRA typically. But if you retire at, say, age 62, COBRA isn't going to be enough to really carry you through. Here in the state of Tennessee, at least, there are some really great independent comprehensive health insurance plans in the state of Tennessee that you can get that's really cost effective, very inexpensive, sometimes less expensive than what you're actually paying through your work sponsored plan. But the most important piece to that is you have to be healthy. And I ask people all the time, how's your health? And they say, great. Next thing you know, they've had triple bypass surgeries and heart attacks and cancers, but they're healthy today, but their past health wasn't great. It's important that you have a pretty clean record on your health bill in order for this to be a good option. So what if it's not? There are other options in the state of Tennessee that anyone can qualify for, but the cost of the insurance is related to your income. And so when it comes to the income planning side of retirement, if you're going to go on a marketplace plan, and there are some great ones that don't cost $1,200 a month, if you want to get on a great insurance plan, it's going to be 100% income dependent. So having a great tax plan as it relates to your income plan is going to be really important, at least until you get to age 65. Once you're on at age 65, then you have Medicare to choose from. There's supplements and advantage plans. For the most part, Medicare, depending on your income, is going to be $174 right now, at least for every American for Part B. And then if you get a supplement, you want to make sure that you get the best insurance available to you in your retirement years, right? Don't skimp on insurance. If you're going to cut corners, don't cut corners on your insurance. One of the best plans here in our state runs about $130 per person. So you could be looking at a comprehensive insurance plan for around $300 a month, which is relatively inexpensive. If that cost is a lot to you, considering to retire may actually be a bad idea, because $300 a month, $400 a month for insurance, for great insurance, would actually be considered pretty good. Now, what happens when these costs go up? It's one of the most highly inflated sectors in our industry right now is healthcare and health insurance. I think it's important that you have a good inflation-protected investment strategy to make sure that you have a great balance as it relates to investments and risk. But money out there really working hard for you to try to deliver some good rates of returns to offset higher costs. And in reality, John, not just for healthcare, but I would expect in our country costs to continue to go up and at a pace we haven't really seen in the last 10 years. To be fair, we went through about a 10-year period of time with minimal to no inflation. And then all of a sudden it hit us all at once.
Yep.
And that was a reset. We don't expect costs to go back down. I do actually expect them to continue to go up over time. So having a plan for those higher healthcare expenses in retirement is going to be important, and an allocation has everything to do with that. All right, John, so I'll move on to you now. This is a big one today, and I think it's an important topic to unpack with your financial advisor. You want to make sure they have some experience as it relates to this question, right? I think it's important to ask it. What is the future of taxes going to look like as it relates to my retirement and my income when I do retire? What's taxes going to look like in our country now and in the future?
Yeah, so there's a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is taxes, in our opinion, are going to go up. You know, General David Walker, you can actually Google him, was the former comptroller that served both Democrat and Republican parties. So this really isn't a political issue, it's a math issue. He estimates, I have not done the math that he has done, that top marginal brackets could go as high as 70%. Why is that? Because we have a $34 trillion debt in this country, and that debt right now is going up every 90 days. So every 3 months, it's going up another $1 trillion. That's a massive amount of debt. There's a couple things that are happening sort of on the side of the debt going up. Number one, the boomers are retiring. So they're, I know if you're a baby boomer, you've paid taxes your whole life, but you're coming out of the workforce now. And so your taxes, people think in some regards, are going to go down. That depends on your income and where it's coming from. And then population growth in America is going down. I think sometimes people forget or don't understand how big that debt is. $34 trillion is just a massive amount of debt. Now, some people will say, well, the top 5% are going to pay it. The truth is the top 5% can't pay it. If you pulled all of the money away from them that they made for the next 150 years, they literally could not pay a $34 trillion debt. So what does that mean to you? What it should mean to you is that you need to take advantage of the current tax brackets and tax rates, which are historically low. They may not seem like they're low. In fact, sometimes people say, well, no, taxes are high. Actually, taxes are very low today. There's some taxes that are going to be expiring after 2025. Where are they going to go from there? Well, we don't know. And our industry over time has really taught people to defer taxes, and people have interpreted tax deferral as tax savings. Well, tax savings is actually saving money. Deferral is just deferral.
Right.
And so what you really have to do is sit down and look at your current retirement situation, where your income's going to come from, and look at the tax brackets today and do what we call forward-looking tax planning. If you went ahead and paid at least some of your taxes today, they're due at some point anyway, because taxes are a debt. Are you going to be better off paying some taxes today based on today's tax brackets, your tax bracket, the width of the brackets, and where we think they may be headed, and then have things like tax-free growth for the future? That's something that we do in a tax analysis, which is really important. And so a lot of times, Stan, we've talked about starting out with healthcare and taxes. Usually when a lot of retirees come in, or people getting ready to retire, those are questions a lot of times that don't even ask, but those are two really important questions. Is what do you do with healthcare? What do you do with taxes? What's that mean to your retirement? It's going to look different for everyone. Well, the next question is, what do you do about market volatility? I mean, the market is at an all-time high, but it's not always like that. It can also be very volatile. And if you're retired, volatility can tend to make people nervous. So what do you do about market volatility and risk?
Yeah. So again, I think that's a great question to ask your advisor. What is our plan for market volatility, right? It's going to happen. If you're going to be in a position to have some of your money in a position of growth, you're going to experience some volatility. So how do you eliminate, minimize, or mitigate the impact of market volatility on your investments and income? Well, the simple answer to that is, number one, know what your current risk level is. Have you been provided a stress test that shows you, based on my current investments I own today and how much I own of them, has that been stress tested into two different scenarios? One, an up market. If the market continues to go up, how much of the upside am I currently ready to participate in. So how much money can I make if the market goes up? And more importantly, if the market were to go down and we experienced another 2001 and 02 or 2008 or 2022, right? Those are all real years of negative returns in the market recently. What would my investment portfolio stand to lose if the market did go down? Right, so number one, you want to have a stress test. Know what your current risk level is. If you can't specifically identify that, you're not ready for retirement. If your advisor can't answer that question, he's not the right advisor for your retirement, right? So know what is the current risk level, how much can you make or lose. Then we also want to tie that into our income, and more importantly, how do I eliminate market volatility from my income? You need to have a plan for that. You need to make sure that the income that you're going to pull, that you're going to need to support your retirement lifestyle, is coming off of sources that are not impacted by market volatility. To be honest, market volatility isn't a bad thing. You can actually use market volatility to enhance your overall retirement situation, as long as the balance of investments towards principal protection, security, and income isn't tied directly to that market volatility, things like that. And so two big pieces. You need to know what kind of risk you have today, and then how am I going to eliminate or mitigate the risk of volatility against my income so that I can actually use volatility to help me during my retirement years. All right, John, number 4. Got 2 more left here. This is a big one. We get asked a lot. What about Social Security? Is it going to be there when I need it, or is it going to run out?
Well, you talked about a hot political topic. You know, politicians at both sides of the aisle have not touched this, won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. But again, numbers don't lie. Back when Social Security first came into existence, life expectancies were like 7-8 years. Now they're, 30, sometimes 40 in retirement. And if you go to socialsecurity.gov and you actually set up your own account, and you've not done that, I would encourage you to do that. If you go on the 3rd or 4th page, I'm paraphrasing, it'll say something like, well, if there are not changes to the Social Security system, we'll only be able to pay 70 cents on the dollar by like 2033 or 35 or something like that. So is Social Security in trouble in its current state? Yes, it is. Even the government acknowledges that on your personal Social Security statement. Do I think that Social Security is going to be there? Yes, I do. Mm-hmm. If you look at the history of our country, usually our politicians get us to the point of almost crisis, and then they say, oh my gosh, we probably should do something about that. And so there's a lot of different things that they can do as a country. We can spend less money than we're receiving, kind of like a budget. And there's lots of other things too that they can do. They can potentially raise the retirement age. That could make some sense. People are living longer now. But I do think that Social Security is going to be there. I'm not really concerned about that. I think the question is, are you maximizing it to your benefit? So many times people look at Social Security as an entitlement program. It's called an entitlement program. But the truth is, between you and your employer, you paid 12.4% a year of every single penny of income that you made. It went into the Social Security trust for you for the future. And so Social Security is an asset. It's not an entitlement program. So you're not entitled to money you put in. It's an asset because you put money in. But you do want to maximize it. And right. Dan, one of the things that we do for people at Beacon is we do a Social Security maximization software or report that will show you exactly how you and your family can get the most out of Social Security that you're entitled to. So yes, I think Social Security is going to be there, but you want to make sure you're maximizing what you're entitled to, what you paid in your entire working career for you and your family. Well, Dan, the last question, and this is probably one of the biggest ones we get, is how do you make sure that you have enough income for retirement? It's no secret the number one fear still today the baby boomers and people retiring is outliving their income. So how do you make sure that you're going to have enough income to last throughout retirement?
Yeah, it's interesting. If you were to ask your advisor that, I would be really curious to know what the answer is. So we want to ask them, what is our plan for income to make sure I'm going to have enough? And you want to run these out till age 100. Do we have a plan that will last me until I'm 90 or 100 years old? What's interesting, John, is those first 4 questions we talked about as it related to healthcare and taxes and market volatility and Social Security. Every one of those components builds into this question. You have to have a plan to know, what is my health insurance going to cost me before I'm 65 and after I'm 65, right? That's going to be an expense. We need to know what that number is prior to engaging into retirement. We need to know what taxes are going to look like for you during those retirement years. How much is my Social Security going to be taxable? When should I turn on Social Security? All of those items. How do I eliminate market volatility from my income? We've already kind of unpacked those for you guys. But more importantly than that, you want to make sure that you're utilizing an analysis tool that can take exactly where you are, use conservative rates of return, your Social Security, builds in taxes, and can show you, based on your current plan, if you were to retire at the date you want to retire, 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years into that, do you know exactly what that would look like? Do you know how much money you've got in your portfolio during every single one of those years? So that you can address, do you have enough money to be able to retire? You can build in some additional expenses. We've got a retirement planning tool here built specifically towards showing the income and the impact of income on our investments and the impact of taxes on our investments and when to turn on Social Security, so that we can show every single client that comes in, number one, here's your current plan if they have one. Okay, so if they were lucky enough to get an actual financial plan, we can show them exactly what that plan looks like, and then can also use that to identify some areas of weakness that they need to improve on to make sure that the retirement lifestyle that they want is sustainable, or maybe more importantly, John, to have the difficult conversation sometimes to tell people that you are not ready to retire with the amount of income and the lifestyle that you say that you want without taking crazy amounts of risk. And, to me, retirement's just not something we're willing to gamble. You only get one shot. There's no do-over, so you want to make sure you spend the time to have a plan built for you with an emphasis behind healthcare, taxes, Social Security, volatility, and income. So we want to make sure we get all 5 of those questions addressed and detailed answers behind them.
Yep, absolutely. Well, those are a few of the main questions that you should be asking. There are several more. One of the things that we tell people, if questions like this make sense to you and you have questions like this that apply to your situations, give our office a call. We'd love to get some information into your hands, some of the reports that we mentioned. It's really helpful information. It's free of charge. There's no obligation. Thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe below.